Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. Some Hispanic groups are calling for a November election boycott. We'll talk about both sides of the issue. Plus, get to know the new director of the Hispanic Mission Office for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Phoenix and learn about a foundation preparing minority leaders through various programs. All this coming up straight ahead on Horizonte.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station.
Thank you for joining us. Early voting has already started in Arizona, but we may see some people avoiding the ballot box on purpose. Some in the Hispanic community are calling for a boycott in the November election. Here to talk about this is Carlos Garcia, Executive Director for Puente, Arizona, and Roberto Reveles, Founding President of Somos America. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Horizonte. Carlos, as I understand it, Puente is not itself calling for a boycott, and I want to talk about Puente's position on this. But before we do that, who is calling for a boycott and why?
I think there's a lot of individuals in our community who are deciding not to vote. I think the disappointment with the Democrats has gotten to a point where people just don't know where to go. I think seeing this president having deported over 2 million people, continuing to deport 1,100 people a day, and delaying his most recent action that could have stopped this suffering has pushed to people not wanting to act. And specifically, there was 4 or 5 senators who asked President Obama not to delay the deportations. Senators of states in Utah, Arkansas, Alaska, Louisiana, and a couple others who were in tight races. And as a position of the Democratic Party, asked for him not to stop deportations because it might hurt their elections. So this call for boycotting the elections is to send a message that our community matters, that 1,100 people deported a day is no joke, and people might stay home just because of that.
Now, the president has tried to justify his position by saying that it would cause more harm than good, that he will act after the election. Why isn't that a reasonable response?
Because we heard those promises in 2008. And 2 million people lost later, it's hard for us to wait another day. In the first 2 years of his presidency, he had the House, he had the Senate, and he could have passed immigration reform. He could have stopped deportations a long time ago, and he hasn't. And this most recent delay from June until now, over 100,000 people have been deported. Our community, especially in places like Arizona, continue to suffer, and now have lost hope, not only in Obama, but in Democrats in general.
Roberto, you responded very strongly to the suggestion of a possible boycott by Hispanic groups. But the bases for the call for boycott do seem to be legitimate, and people seem to have some legitimate grievances with President Obama, with the Democratic Party. So why not?
Yes, well, I too have grievances with the administration. I've spent a lifetime working in support of my Latino community, and I've spent the last 10 years in particular here in Phoenix developing support for the immigrant community, and so I certainly am distressed. But the point is that to call for a boycott is to turn the Congress over lock, stock, and barrel to Republicans who have promised to do what on immigration reform? They've promised to dismantle DACA. They've promised not to have comprehensive immigration reform. And so, to me, it's insane to say that we are angered at the president, therefore we're not going to vote, and therefore we will leave our fate in the hands of a totally controlled party that has publicly said they do not support even the bipartisan Senate passed immigration reform measure.
Now, some have pointed out, and for example, this week in the New York Times, there was a lengthy analysis of the impact of the Hispanic vote in this election, and the analysis was it's not going to make a difference. I think that actually cuts both ways. But if that's the case, why not a symbolic gesture at least? If it's not going to change who controls the House, the Republicans still are. It's not likely to change who wins the Senate. That may or may not go Republican, but not because of Hispanic votes.
Well, I don't see voting as symbolism. I see it as an actual act of citizenship being played out responsibly. I don't care what the polls say. I'm going to be out there encouraging our community to speak out in support of an administration that has rolled back the recession, that has created jobs, that is for public education, that is for expanded health care, that is for bringing peace to parts of the world that desperately need it, and for comprehensive immigration reform. So I see voting as essential to that. To say otherwise, that, oh, symbolically I'm giving up the vote, well, who's to say that they can trust you in further elections? You are, in fact, becoming irrelevant.
Carlos, isn't there some concern that all of the efforts have been put into getting out the Hispanic vote in the last few years, encouraging people to express their views by voting, will be harmed by actions such as this?
I think because we value our vote, we're tired of just having it taken for granted. I think one thing we've realized, specifically working on deportations and immigration, that more Democrats, more Latinos doesn't equate stopping the deportations. I always use LA County and the city of LA as an example, a place that's ran by Democrats, it's ran by Latinos, but it's the only county in the entire country that deports more people than Maricopa County. I think the issue I work on, myself having 6 people in my family deported, 6 months ago my uncle being deported after a year and 8 months in Eloy, it's something that's dear to my heart. It's people I work with every day. This is no longer a political ploy or game that it was which the Democrats have been holding on to. As long as the Republicans are worse than them, they've been satisfied with now deporting over 2 million people. That's simply unacceptable for our community, and that's something I cannot stand here and genuinely look at my community's face and say, vote for a party that's done this damage to our community.
But on the other hand, Jose, to indeed withhold your vote from the only party that has provided DACA. President Obama is the one who, through his executive authority, put DACA in place. But to say now that we're holding our vote because we're angered that he hasn't expanded it to the families of DACA eligible individuals is, again, doesn't make sense, because what you will be doing is saying, well, we reject Democrats who have historically been the party that has helped broaden immigration policies of this country. Instead, we're going to turn it over to the Republicans, who make no bones about it. They say they want to shut the border down. And so I too have had very close contact with people in need. I have sheltered unaccompanied minor refugees in cooperation with the Florence Immigrant Refugee Rights Project. And so I know how desperate the situation is for people who are seeking to better their lives and to legalize their stay. But again, to say I'm putting my fortunes in the hands of people who have already said publicly, we're not going to help you.
Isn't there a point where the frustrations get to the level where you say, you're not my friend, I'm not going to support you?
Well, I've been working here since the big March of 2006, where we all, including Puente, committed to civic engagement. And civic engagement is not based on, well, let's set a frustration level here. Cesar Chavez himself said, in so many words, don't expect any of these battles to be short-lived. You've got to be prepared for the long run. And what he did, for example, when he reached frustration and some of his supporters reached a frustration level, he said the real test is to put yourselves at risk. Don't put anybody else at risk. I think we are putting a lot of people at risk by putting their fates in the hands of a Republican-controlled Congress.
Carlos, one last question, and then we'll have to wrap up the interview. Isn't one of the reasons that both parties take the Hispanic vote for granted is that Hispanics don't vote? And so wouldn't it be more constructive to turn out the vote in tremendous numbers and let people vote who they want to vote for, Republican, Democrat, whatever, but the numbers themselves, wouldn't that be more significant?
I think defining civic engagement by just voting is a mistake. I think the way we've been able to beat back policies and start the change here in Arizona has been not only relying on the vote, but taking to the streets, doing lawsuits, and doing a combined strategy of all these tactics. I think the DACA example is a very good example. It wasn't until students started taking over Obama for America offices, the campaign offices, and threatening the vote there that change actually happened. Before that, President Obama was both deporting Dreamers and continues to deport their presidents. It's a party that's taking us for granted. It's committed the perfect crime by continuing to deport our people, yet only be slightly better than the Republicans, and it's created havoc both here in Arizona and across the country.
It's
And on
hardly
that
being,
note, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
it's hardly
I
being
know it's a
little
tough
better
issue.
than Republicans,
A
really.
lot of passion on this issue. I thank you both for joining us on Horizonte to talk about it.
Thank you, Jose.
Here at Horizonte, we want to hear from you. If you have comments, story ideas, or questions, email us at horizonte@asu.edu.
The Roman Catholic Diocese of Phoenix has a new director of the Hispanic Mission Office, an outreach dedicated to providing insight into how the church can best serve the increasing number of Hispanic Catholics in one of the fastest growing regions of the United States. Join me now as we get to know Christopher Pereira. Christopher, welcome to Horizonte.
Thank you. Thank you, Jose.
This is not the first effort by the diocese to reach out to Hispanics, but this is a new office. Explain that.
Sure. The Hispanic Mission Office was born out of the Hispanic Ministry Office. It has evolved out of that office, which is the office that the late Jose Robles used to be the director of, rest in peace. But the reason why it had to change is because, like Bishop Olmsted said, the needs of the diocese have changed. Back when Jose Robles started at the diocese, hardly anybody spoke Spanish, and there weren't that many Hispanics or people knowledgeable of the Hispanic culture in the diocese at the pastoral center to take care of Hispanic Catholics in the diocese. That's no longer the case. Just about every department has somebody that's bilingual. So who's going to be doing Hispanic ministry now? Bishop Olmsted says everybody. So my office, the Hispanic Mission Office, is a new office with a very specific mission. And those are the 4 areas of focus that I had mentioned to you before we came in the area.
And the bishop himself speaks Spanish, and
Yes,
we
he
have
does.
an auxiliary bishop who speaks Spanish.
Yes.
Talk about those four areas of focus.
Sure. And they're to serve with media relations, community and church relations, stewardship, which I can explain what that is, and also I'm an internal resource, and what that means is that I'm somewhat of a consultant at the pastoral center for the diocese with matters that have to do with the Hispanic community.
Now, I want to get into a little bit more detail on those 4 areas of focus, but before we do that, what does the diocese look like in terms of the number of Hispanics who are members?
Sure. Right now, we know there are at least 100,000 Catholics in the Diocese of Phoenix. Out of those,
100,000, or I think it's
800,000. 800,000 Catholics in the Diocese of Phoenix. Out of those, we believe that at least half are Hispanic Catholics. But those numbers, we're revising the way in which we gathered that information because we know that those numbers are less than the actual numbers of Catholics in general and Hispanic Catholics. And the reason is, particularly with Hispanic Catholics, many of them, the recent immigrants who come from maybe smaller towns in Latin America or Mexico, don't have that culture of registering in their parishes. I have talked to some of the priests, Spanish-speaking priests, and many of them have told me that out of all the people that attend Mass on Sunday, sometimes at some parishes, half of them are not registered. So we know that there are more Hispanic Catholics in the Diocese of Phoenix than the numbers that we officially have to show for.
Now, you talk about an increase in the number of Hispanics in the diocese.
Yes.
Is there also a concern with the number of Hispanics who are leaving the church, either to become members of evangelical churches, which seem to have made some inroads in this area, and is that part of your job?
Well, my job, really, the way I see it, is to create a more fertile ground for the pastors, the bishops themselves, and the priests to come in and do what they do, which is proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ. But now there's always distractions in the world, and not only other religions, but there are many things that could have Catholics stray away from their faith. So we're always concerned about that, but we're blessed to know that the Diocese of Phoenix membership, the Hispanic Catholics, is growing. There are more Catholics all the time. Every day there are more and more Hispanic Catholics in the diocese, and that's due to many of the efforts that Bishop Olmsted has put in place. He really has his heart set on serving the pastoral needs of the Hispanic community.
Now, as you mentioned, we had a little opportunity to chat off camera, and you had said that part of your job involves an aspect of voting, at least. Explain that.
Well, no. What I said is that one of the things that we are promoting, particularly these days, just in the diocese in general, it's just something that is talked about, is the importance of voting on your conscience, using your conscience, thinking about what morals implications there are when you go to the polls, and that's the message that goes out both to the English and Spanish communities in the Catholic diocese. Bishop Olmsted has written a book called Catholics in the Public Square that talks about that and reflects on that.
And how do you, or what role, if any, do you play in communicating to the Hispanic community, the members of the Catholic Church here, on issues that are somewhat controversial? For example, last week we had the decision in Arizona to allow gay marriage. The bishop made a statement about that. What role would you be playing in that regard?
Well, I support the Department of Communications, particularly with Hispanic media. And what we do when it comes to things like this, like that decision, the bishops of Arizona like to talk as one voice. So you've read that statement that went out, and basically I support the communications office and the diocese in getting those messages out.
Let me ask you one last question, then we're going to have to wrap up the interview. On the subject of immigration, at least in the past, the church, the local church, has been criticized for not being forceful enough on that subject. What, if any, role will you play in communicating the church's position on immigration?
Well, the church always promotes and defends the dignity of every human person. And that includes immigrants, that includes the unborn, that includes everyone. So that's always been what the church has said, what the bishops have said. So me, as a person that's out there, again, trying to lay a fertile ground for the church to do its pastoral work in the Hispanic community, I just simply convey that same message.
Christopher Pereira, congratulations on your new position, and thanks for joining us on Horizonte.
Thank you.
To
And
talk
real
about
quick,
it.
I have a gift for you. It's Pope Francis Evangelii Gaudium, Apostolic Exhortation.
Thank you so much. This is very kind of you. And thanks for joining us.
To find out more information about what's on Horizonte, go to azpbs.org and click on the Horizonte tab at the top of the screen. There you can access many features to become a more informed Horizonte viewer. Watch interviews by clicking on the video button or by scrolling down to the bottom of the page for the most recent segments. Learn about more specific topics like arts and culture and immigration. You can also find out what's on Horizonte for the upcoming week. If you would like an RSS feed, a podcast, or you want to buy a video, that's all on our website too. Other features include our collection of website links and a special page for educators. While you're there, show your support for Horizonte with just one click. Discover all that's on Horizonte. Visit azpbs.org. Horizonte today.
This week, the Hispanic Heritage Foundation honored 21 Latino high school seniors from the Phoenix region for their accomplishments in the classroom community and their focus on various categories here at ASU. Here now to talk about this is Santiago Ameiva, Senior Manager of Programs and Chief of Staff for the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. Santiago, welcome to Horizonte. Talk about the events this week.
Sure. So just to give you a bit of background on Hispanic Heritage Foundation, we were created in the late 80s by President Ronald Reagan. And 16 years ago, the foundation created the Youth Awards program. And through that program—
Here in Arizona?
All over the United States, Arizona being one of the many markets. So through that program, we have recognized the best and the brightest Latino high school students across the country, Arizona being one of the markets.
And how do you do that? What's the selection process?
We receive thousands of applications to our office, all done online. We get students apply through their colleges, through their high school counselors, through their teachers, many different ways. We do a huge push online, through social media, through different kinds of PR methods. So through the Youth Awards program,
What are you looking to honor? I mean, what are the qualities that you're looking to recognize?
Sure, so the students are nothing short of amazing. The recipients average over a 3.8 GPA. They're captains of their soccer team, they're captains of their chess club, they go into the top universities in the countries after high school. Some of them even have their own startups and nonprofits already created.
And is there a committee that selects them, or how is the process handled?
We do it internally as well through a pre-selection process, but we also have community leaders chip in, and sometimes the corporate sponsors help us select the students as well.
And why would a student be interested in applying for this? What's the benefit to them? And as I understand it, it's not just up front, it's later on as well.
The students receive an educational grant for when they go off to college. The grant can be used for the tuition, it can be used to buy books or a laptop, it can be used to actually fund a startup if they so choose. So we don't just give them an educational grant and say good luck, we'll see you in 4 years. We actually stay with them, we follow them. They join our network, a huge network of students. This program was created in 1998. We're now in our 16th year of this. So there's a huge network of students 18 through 34 who have gone through this program. They join this network, it's called the Latinos on Fast Track, LAW for short, where we start providing dozens of other opportunities for the students, not just for educational grants, but for opportunities, for fellowships, for internships, for full-time placement in other positions.
How many awardees a year?
It really depends on the amount of corporate sponsorship, but we have between 15 to 21 per region, 10 markets across the country, including Phoenix.
As I understand it, there are categories that they're selected for. Tell us a little bit about that.
Correct. So this year we have 6 categories ranging from business and entrepreneurship, engineering and mathematics, innovation and technology, healthcare science, sports and fitness, community service. So you can see it's a wide range, many different tracks, many different fields. These are leaders of today, not tomorrow. We want to make sure that they're going into all these different fields because Latinos need to fill the job placements for America in all these different fields.
And do they self-select? In other words, if I had a student, let's say my granddaughter, and she was applying, would she pick one of those 6 categories?
She can pick as many as she wants. Absolutely. She would be able to go from community service to engineering mathematics, whatever really she wants to do, whatever her career choice is. And remember, we stay in touch with them. So they receive the grant. Let's say they want an engineering and mathematics. We have a corporate sponsor who offers them a fellowship later on when they're in college or even in postgraduate. So it's really what depends on what the student wants to do.
So does this mean, though, that they would have had to have already shown some aptitude, let's say, for engineering and mathematics?
Absolutely. But like I told you earlier, these students are already amazing. They're already doing STEM-related things, robotics, engineering, and mathematics, if that's the route she wants to take. They're already doing these things in high school. They're going to continue to do them through college and then postgraduate and then off to the professional fields as well.
And that's a factor in their being selected for that particular category?
Absolutely, yeah. They answer some short questions. We get a better feel of who they are. They have to be very well-rounded. I told you earlier, they're members of their soccer team, captains of their soccer team. They're putting in countless hours of community service into their areas. Absolutely, that goes into the selection process.
And if people want more information about the program, how to apply, how do they get that?
They can visit our website, hispanicheritage.org. They can get information on the scholarship.
We've got that on the screen right now.
On our different programs for the LOFT program, the LOFT network. They can find anything you want on that website.
It sounds like an amazing program. Congratulations on 16 years of awards here in Arizona. And thank you so much for joining us on Horizonte to talk about it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And that is our show for tonight. From all of us here at 8 and Horizonte, thanks for watching. I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good evening.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.